Hi, I'm Andy Savage. Welcome to One Man and His Meeple. If you enjoy my videos, please consider becoming a patron. For as little as £1 a month, you can help this channel continue and shape our future. As an unskilled yet keen player of 18xx games, I was happy to find 1862 had a proper solo mode. With the stock round simulated by a tableau of shares that you manipulate in a solitaire-like way, and an almost standard series of operating rounds, it presents a very satisfying 1862 or EA experience for one player. 1862 Railway Mania in the Eastern Counties is a game designed by Mike Hutton, who also created my most prized game, 1860 Railways on the Isle of Wight, a game close to my heart because it's set in my birthplace. This game features a very tight board and an extraordinary number of companies, 3 different types of trains, local, express and freight, all of which score differently. It also has 2 different incorporation methods, although I'm not experienced enough to really explain the differences between one and the other. In this playthrough, I'll attempt to demonstrate some basic strategy and the rules, but I certainly won't attempt to cover everything. As I said, although I enjoy 18xx immensely, I'm pretty inexpert. However, I hope to demonstrate that the format, and especially this solo version, are quite accessible for anyone into mid to heavyweight games. So let's play. Okay, so there's still some setup to do. I've dealt out the share tableau, as you can see, 9 piles of 6 shares. What I am still going to do is deal out the 4 companies that are removed from the game at the start of the game, and the order of the trains and the order of the train rush. So let's start with these 4 companies. So these are the ones that we're going to cover up and remove from the game. Now bear in mind that we get a mulligan on one of these things. So we cover up Great Yarmouth, that's the Yarmouth and Norwich. W and F is Wells and Fakenham, E and H, Ely and Huntingdon, and L and D in Swaffham there, the Lynn and Dereham. So that's the 4 companies that are initially going to be removed from the game, and I can see a few of those are here low down on the share tableau. Now we've also got to draw the order of the trains as they come out. So we've got freight, express, local, freight, local, and of course express. Ideally I'd like local in the first 2, but we can possibly live with this. And the order of the train rush, there will be 1, 2 or 3 trains removed from the game at the end of each operating round. So the first gets 3, secondly is 2, and thirdly it's 1. I think that's probably the favourable way for the trains to go, because at the end of the first operating round all the phase A trains are removed, and then after the second operating round we're going to remove 3 with an extra 1 if no companies buy a phase B train in that round, and then 2 and then 1. But the train numbers aren't on that sheet. We have a sheet here. This tells us how many trains are in the long game. There's 7 phase A trains, 6 B, 5 C, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then an infinite number of H trains. So obviously I think this is the best way to have that train rush at the start. Okay, so that's all the random draw for the setup. Now let's just have a look and see if this is what we want to stick with, or if there's something we want to mulligan here. What we can mulligan is those 4 removed companies. We can mulligan the order of these trains that come out, or we can mulligan 1 column from the share tableau. And I think that's it. I don't think we can mulligan the order of the train rush, but I don't want to do that anyway. No, that's correct. Just those three things. I'm starting with £650 here. I don't want, which is like easy mode, but I'm only doing 9 share columns in the Tableau, which is normal. So let's have a look. So if we stick with these 4 companies here, what we want to do is, ideally, I'd like to get 10 or 11 shares out of this Tableau. So 3 companies with 10 or 11 shares in the first stock round, if I can. So with this, we're going to lose that L and D. We'll lose that W and F, that Y and N. Nothing stacks up. The NGC will then stack up there. We'll have another EUR. There'll be an N and S. That Yarmouth will go. Who else we got? E and H. I don't see a lot of E and H shares there. We may have to burn another company to get some more shares out of this Tableau. And we also have to look at the fact that we need a freight, express, and then a local in that order. So a freight, ideally, we want to come from one of the ports. And the express would ideally be down here close to London, so we can run the express into London. So looking at the freight, we've got FDR, which is at Felixstowe. But I can only see one FDR share here at all, which isn't ideal. N and S. N and S are these blue and blue, and there's 3 fairly low down there. So maybe that could be our freight coming out of Lowestoft. ENR. ENR are these yellow and blues, and there are 3, 4, 5 of those. So that's not bad, but they're quite low down in the and spread out over 4 columns. So that might be a bit hard to get out 3 of those. Although saying that, we only have to get rid of WVR, and we can get to that double ENR by stacking. Okay, what else is on the coast? There's the ENR, that's what ENR, that's what we were just talking about. WNR is this golden russet or golden red, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and these ones are really close to the top. This one's doable, so that could be 3 of those. What about Express? Either ECR or N&E would be ideal, but we could go as far as SVR now. They've seen some SVRs in here. That's this gold and green. Maybe just the one. That's not ideal then. The N and E is this grey and green. There's 1 there, there's 2 up there. Another one back there, kind of hard to get a hold of. I'm going to be doing chartered companies for these early ones, probably for all of them in the solo, just to keep it simple. Now, I think the least predictable is to mulligan one of these columns. Having said that, mulliganing these, I don't think is going to give us much, because the LD is actually pretty useless. That W and F and Y and N, so we get a few shares out of here. I think what I'm going to do is stick with what we've got here. Nothing terrible is blocked. We haven't got like a wall of companies, a wall of hexes blocked across the map, so it's not too bad. I'm going to stick with this, I think. Maybe I should mulligan that to try and get a local first. Locals are good because they generate money for themselves based on how many hexes they run over. What did we say? We could probably get 1, 2, we can probably get 3 NNSs for this express. And I reckon we can get something down to London for the, NNS for the freight, and we can get something down to London for the express. So I'm just going to stick with this as it is and just go for it. In case you're wondering, this big space over here is going to be where I'm going to put the company charters when we start getting some. So sticking with that, let's burn some of these shares that are out of the game, so that W and F can go, the L and D can go. Once we've done that, I'll start showing you how this tableau works properly. That Y and N, the Yarmouth can go. E and H is the other one. So we can stack up. Now the way this works is when you have a share at the top of each column, you can take the share from one column and put it on top of another one in the same in another column. Kind of like Spider Solitaire or whatever. You can't move into an empty column. When you have an empty column, you can deal a new stack of 6 cards, but you have to remove another company from the game when you do that. So this was there. The decision you have to make at this point is, do I want to move that one to there and expose these 2 WNR shares? WNR is up here, literally next to the sea. It's Wales next to the sea. And there are a good few WNR shares reachable. Alternatively, we can move this Newmarket and Great Chesterfield share up to there and expose this EUR share, Eastern Union. But I can only see 2 of those. So they're not a lot of use in this early game, and we're probably going to end up, EUR is right here in Colchester. I'm not mad on removing that actually. If I can just move it somewhere nice out of the way, would be better. So I think, that said, although I'm going to move that NGC to there and expose this WNR pair. Now if I said I wanted to get rid of this share, I would have to remove, I can remove this share from the game, but I would have to remove EUR from the game. So I can put this into the bank pool, but then I would have to remove EUR from the game just like these. And then I would have to blank off its hex, which is right there in Colchester. 1, it's an N tile, so it earns more. And 2, it kind of blocks a nice, these red bars, you can't build rail through these red bars. So it's going to isolate off Harwich there. So I'm not mad on removing EUR from the game at this point. Although having said that, we may have to, just to get ahead. Now this first stock round is by far the longest in the game, as you work out exactly what you're going to do here. See, I was saying I wanted maybe those NNS for our for our first freight. And to do that, I'm going to have to burn that EUR unless I undo that. Stack that way, then I can move the EUR onto there. Let's do it that way instead. We're covering up those WNRs, but we don't need two coastal stations just yet. Two coastal cities. So the NNS can stack up there for now. And that Y and N is out of the game already. Where's the L and H? The L and H is quite a nice station there. It allows a quick run off board from coast to red, which can be quite profitable for early on. How many L and H shares have we got here? 1, 2, 3. So you need 3 shares. 3 shares floats a company in this game. And if you float it as a chartered company, it's full capitalization as well, which means it gets 10 times. As soon as you buy 3 shares, the company floats and gets 10 times the par price. Par price being the initial price you set for the shares, which is anywhere on this yellow box between 54 and 100. Now I'm thinking we're probably at the stage where I'm going to have to remove another company. So I can get 3 shares in anything at this point. Now in the solo rules, and I think in the multiplayer rules too, as a chartered, if you start a chartered company, then the company must float by the end of that stock round. So I can just buy 2 shares. I could buy these 2 NNS shares and open up that IMB in this column here, but that means once I've bought 1 or 2, then by the end of this stock round I must have bought a third and floated the company, otherwise there's fines of up to 5 times the par value. And frankly, that's pretty much just throwing the game away on the first stock round. So we don't want to do that. I mean, we might want to buy just 2 shares, but we definitely don't want to get fined for not finishing the company, not floating the company by the end of this stock round. So where's ESR? ESR is here in Ipswich. What I'm thinking is we have the ESR and we have ENR. In this column and this column are workable if I get rid of the WVR now. And then we can run the freight out of ENR, out of Chroma. So the, whoever that is, East Norfolk could run the freight down through Norwich. And ESR could run the express, because it can get into Felixstowe and then run fairly quickly off board, although that is 1, 2, 3, 4 stops. So it's not going to be getting off board until it has a 4 train, unless it goes round here. Yeah, it could do that actually with a 3 train. Which will be there before we know it. So maybe that's not too bad. ENR for the freight, ESR for the express. Don't know what we'll be looking at for the local. By the time we free up these ENRs, there's going to be an L, another L and H there, and another L and H there. L and H isn't great for a local. Locals, you want to be running through these, through the dits, through the small town stops. So ideally, you'd want L and E as your local, which is not impossible. Okay, let's do this. Enough talk. We're going to burn that WVR share, which means we have to remove the WVR from the game. And that means I have to cover up the WVR's home, which is there. And now we can stack up this N and B up to there, and this ESR up to there. Now you can see if I buy 2 ENR shares and 2 ESR shares, then I can get a third of each from there and there. We'll also free up, where am I, 3 L and H shares, and I can stack them up. One, two, three. As a possible third company, although as I said, L and H is not an ideal local. It would be better to run something adjacent to like this, these run of 2 or 3 towns. So we want the ENR to be our freight. So let's buy 2 ENRs to start with. And I've got a horrible feeling I have not thought where I'm going to put my shares. Okay, ENR. Let's par that. So we're going to get 3 ENRs, 3 ESRs. Now I'm going to par these, and I reserve the right to change what I've done at the end of this stock round. To make the most of the shares I've bought. It's probably a little bit cheating, but I could have worked it all out ahead and put it on a chart. We're going to need a calculator. So let's say we're going to par the ENR at 68. Might tray of bits around the wrong way. There we go. So we're going to par the ENR at 68. So we'll put out its home, and we'll put out the share price, and we'll get its charter. It's going to get 2 more stations, and it pays £180 on flotation as it floats for 1, 2, 3. So it pays £60 for each of those. Okay, calculator. So we'll work that out in a minute. Now we can stack up that L and H. And we're going to buy 2 ESR shares as well. Actually, this hasn't floated yet, of course, because I haven't bought 3 shares, so I don't need to worry about it yet. And I think we'll go for ESR at 68 as well, and assume we're going to par the local lower, because the local generates income for itself. based on how many hexes it runs through, they're slightly more self-sufficient. Where I'm going to put my shares, I'm going to run out of space here. Okay, so 2 ENR, 2 ESR. Let's make sure we get these in the right order. So ESR was second incorporated, and that gets a freight permit, and this gets an express permit, and that means that's the only trains that company can buy. Certainly the only trains it can run. I think it's the only trains it can buy. So where are we now? We need a decent local as well. This is a couple of LNEs, which would be a good local because it can run this way, and we can potentially merge it with the ENR later, because locals and freights, when you merge, they run those two trains really nicely together. So can we get some LNEs? We've got 2 here. Just check there's nothing else up there we should be getting rid of at this point. What about NGC for a local? It's not great. Now the NNE, how many? We got 3. NNE would make a great express, but we're looking at that right at the end of the game. That express is the last. That second express is the last one. I'm just thinking if we burn the NNE share. Just trying to get to that L&E share. Okay, well we need to buy the 3rd ENR and the 3rd ESR. So let's assume we're powering those at 680, at 68. That's 680 to the company. I'll do my money in a bit. That's 680 to each company when they float, but they have to pay 180, so they get 500 each. So that's 68 times 6 so far, which is 408, which leaves us 242. If we can get 3 shares, we could power 80, but we don't want to do that. Did I say 242? If 4 shares would be 60. So we could get 4 more shares and power at 58 for the local. That would be about right. Okay, so we don't have to burn the N and E share. If we stack the N and E this way, we can get a 4th ESR and empty a column. If I move the N and E that way, we can stack up those N and S's and remove this lonely I and B. Where's the I and B? It's right there in the middle and bury. It's not essential though, although it is a Y tile which are more valuable, they're worth more. But there are only 2 I and B shares in the tableau, so it's neither here nor there. Right, so let's move the N and E up there, those N and S shares down to there. Now where is the N and S, seeing as there are 3 shares there? Well, that's out in lower stuff, which isn't not that bad to run a local. You know, a 3-train local would be running through to Bury I'm picking up 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 for the company every run, which is not bad. But then we could do just as well coming out of the out of Downham with the L&E. So let's remove the IB from the game. I'm not mad about removing so many companies from the game at the start, but there we go. This doesn't make any difference. N and E goes that way, so we've got a fourth ESR share there. Now if it's exposed and we get into an operating round, then it is possible for the company to redeem it, but once the company redeems it, we can't get it. We'll never be able to get it. So now we can float the L and H, which is here. We can float the L and E, which is here, better for a local. But I'd ideally like to get more shares out. I don't really want to float a fourth company though. Tricky. So where are we? We've got ENR, so there's an ENR there, which we've buried. There's an ENR there, which we've got nowhere near touching yet. There's an ESR, so we can get a fourth share in the ESR. So can we afford that? So what have we got so far? 6 times 68. We've got 242 in hand. If we buy another ESR share, no, 242 minus 68 leaves us 174, and then we could par the L&E at 58, bang on. Okay, so let's do that. We'll buy that fourth ESR share, and we'll buy the 3 L&E shares parring at 58. L&E, getting confused. L&E, 58 for the L&E. I need its charter. These are all going to be chartered companies. If you're used to the multiplayer for this game, there is no Parliament round in the solo. You can just pick upon, when you incorporate the company, whether it's going to be chartered or unchartered. Okay, time to pay for this. This is 650. We'll just double check that. So that's 68 at 7 is 476, plus 3 at 58 is 7 at 68 is 476, plus 3 at 58 is 650, which is what we're starting with. So all this money is gone. And what's our L&E? We haven't got par price. There we go. And the L&E requires a local permit. So if companies merge, then their permits, so say ENR and L&E merged, the resulting company would get both permits and could buy either trains. The L&E, after it's bought its 3 stations for 180, gets 400 in its treasury. These both have 500 remaining. So that's 580 minus 180 is 400. These both have 500 in each. So that I am out of money. That is the end of the stock round. Unless we want to manipulate this some more, let's just check. There's nothing very obvious we can do here. I don't see any point burning another company until we get to the next stock round, and probably even the stock round 3, because it's unlikely we're going to have enough to start another company in stock round 2. So with that, let's progress to the first operating round. Okay, so the first company to act is the ENR, this freight company running out of Cromer, the East Norfolk Railway. So it's running from the port of Cromer into the North Sea, and we're going to try and get off board eventually. The freight trains don't count stops, they count hexes, which is a bit unusual. So the first thing the company has to do is lay its own tile, and as this is it's not an N tile, it can lay 2. Well, so we'll run straight down there, and now I'm going to backtrack already. It could lay a second tile, but if I do that, I can't lay a second tile because this is an N. So I'm actually considering running this freight this way off the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because with a 2 and a 3 train, this freight can then run. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So with 2, 3 trains, this train could run off to red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That way is slightly longer to run off to red. But if we go this way, it can share track with the L&E, and the N tiles have 2 spaces in yellow, 3 spaces in green, station spaces, so we won't be stationing out. If this was not an N tile, you could station one company could station the other company out. So I think it is going to run this way for now, even though it's sort of wasting a tile lay in the first round. It's not operating. It's not. It doesn't have any trains to run, so the share price. So it's not paying out. So the share price drops down, and then it buys a train. I'm just going to buy 1 train. Now the train cards are kind of interesting. All 3 types of train are on 1 card. This is the freight train that we're interested in. So you can see it allows visits to the red off-board areas, the blue off-board areas, and it counts hexes. And this Phase A train can run 1 hex. So basically it can run from off-board in the sea to Cromer. I'm actually wondering at this point, I think this company is going to buy 2 1 trains, 2 Phase A trains. I tend to avoid going too heavy on the early trains, although of course all the A trains are going to go, but the train rush is so heavy in this game that, and the company soon will quickly run out of money. You have to play a little bit conservatively early on, I've found. Anyway, so that was the ENR. Next is the ESR, our express company running out of Ipswich itself. So it lays its yellow N tile, which is an X shape, and there's only one way this can go because of the red lines blocking there. You can't run like that or like that, so it must run that way, or of course that way, depending on your preference. I prefer that one. The N tiles and the Y tiles are slightly more valuable than the plain old yellows. And again, because this is an N, it can only lay one single yellow tile. It's not paying any dividends, so it drops down, and then it too can buy a train. The Express runs as a normal 2 train, and it can run off board to red and off board to blue. And it ignores the towns. The Express is quite a simple train. Now I think it's just going to buy one. I'm wondering about putting this back, you know, because the next time this company operates, the 2 trains are going to be available, although it is going to be first to operate. The 2 trains costing 200 each. No, let's leave it as it is. We've done this now. Where did that train go? Did I put it straight back? Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, the ESR has paid for its train, it just didn't get it. Okay. And finally, the L&E. It's going to run. Where do we want it to run to? Clearly, I want to run this way. It's going to put down its own home tile, and we want to run off to Brandon so we can get to Norwich in the first operating round, in the next operating round. The question is, where do we want to go before that? I think we'll run up to King's Lynn, so we want gentle city tile there. The locals cannot run off the board. So otherwise, obviously, I'd run for Wisbech or March and try and get off board, but it doesn't benefit this local. And by the time the ENR is running over here, or the ESR maybe, if we go up that way, it's running over here to get off board, we're going to be in green. We're going to be in phase B, phase C, so we can build those. So this company's buying a local. It's just going to buy 1 for now. Oh, the L&E can of course run a, let's get this all in the wrong order. Let's do it properly for the first operating round anyway. Can also lay a second track, so it's going to run a gentle through Brandon towards Watton, and preserves that town with the dot on the track there. The locals do count the minus the town stations and get 20 for them. He's not paying out, so he drops down, pays 100 for his local train. And with that, at the end of that stock round, all the A trains are exported up to Yorkshire, apparently. I'm going to put them over there. I'll stick the dead trains up there. So the next train available is going to be the phase B train, which is a 2 for the freight, a 2-3 for the express, and a 2-3 for the local. If you don't know what that means, it means for these 2-3s, it means it can stop at 3 stations. It can stop at 3 stations, but only counts 2 of them. And the freight just counts 2 hexes. So at the end of this operating, or the end of the next operating round, the Yorkshiremen as they're termed, are going to remove 3 of these B trains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6. They're going to remove 3 of them. If no one buys one, then they're going to remove an extra one, so 4 will go. Anyway, back to the stock round. I still have no money because none of those companies paid out because they had no trains. So straight back up to an operating round. Now there would be 2 operating rounds between stock rounds, but no one's actually bought a Phase B train, so we don't go into Phase B until someone buys a Phase B train. Either the auction men at the end of the operating round or one of our companies. So who's first up? ENR, again, our freight. They're going to run into Norwich there with another yellow N tile. Now, are they going to play their X that way or that way? I think that way. So we can meet up with this, with the L&E local coming this way. Now they may play a station in there if they want to, and it's free because they paid 180 for their 3 stations up front. But there's no point at this, there's no need for them to do so at this point, because I'll demonstrate how their trains run now. So the freight trains, this is actually the worst example to start with really, but the freight trains must run end to end. If they're trains that will rust, and these trains will rust in Phase C, they must run end to end. And they must, where the one train ends and another one starts, there must be a station there. All trains in this game all routes in this game, the first route must run through the home station, and then any other routes must cross it or meet it at another location with that company's station in, which we will see explained better as we've got examples to give out. But for now, effectively this is a freight train that can run 2 hexes. So it's running out of the sea, into Cromer, and then into Norwich, which is 1, 2 hexes. It then counts the income at the start of the route, which is 80, the income at the end of the route, which is 40, so that's 120. And then it adds 20 per hex in a straight line between the source and the destination, even if there is not a tile in it. So if this train was runs all the way down here and then ends up back in Wells, there would be no intervening tiles, no intervening hexes as the crow flies. In this case, there is 1 intervening hex in Cromer, this one. So the train goes 1, 2 hexes, it goes through the home station, and there is a station marker where the trains meet. So 1 there and 1 there. So I said £20 per intervening hex. If the route runs to or from the sea, the blue offboard area, it's £30 for the intervening hexes. So this is 80 plus 40 is 120, plus 30 is 150. $15, £15 per share. We're in England. Why do I keep saying dollars? £15 per share. So we'll mark that. The income is 150. We want to pay out, because otherwise I'll have nothing to do for another stock round, and this company's share price, if it doesn't pay out, will drop further. So I've got 3 shares, 3 ENR shares at £15 per share is £45 to me. Am I going to keep saying dollars throughout? So 45, which I'm just going to put on the shares there so I remember that I've got them, and just realized you can't see my entire portfolio. I'm going to have to find somewhere else to put my treasury in a minute. This is going to get tight when I get 3 or 4 another company. I can see that. Okay, I was just trying to give you as best view of this board as I can. I may put my treasury up here actually. So that was the ENR. It paid out £15 per share, and according to the legend on the side here, that is a double jump, which means their share price goes up 2 places. These wooden tokens, by the way, are not from the GMT edition. These are from railsonboard.com. I think I'll put a link in the description actually, because they do really nice wooden pieces and stickers for just about every 18xx game out there, and it's really nice. Look at this. In this game there are 20 companies, so that was a lot of stickers, and something I enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, probably wouldn't want to do it. The cardboard tokens that come with 1862 are very nice anyway. They're by no means thin cardboard, same as these. So it's not flimsy, but just the wooden stuff's really nice. So that was the ENR as operated. It laid its track. It's one track, it ran its trains, and it paid out dividends to shareholders. If it had redeemed a share from the tableau, so that means if it had bought and owned its own share, it too would get that 10% share for each share it owned, but it hasn't got any at the moment. Next up is the ESR. Companies always operate in order of decreasing share price value. So the ENR went first. If you've got more than one company with the same share price, then you stack them up and they operate from top to bottom. So next up is the ESR out here in Ipswich. This is an express, so it doesn't stop at these towns. It would be kind of cool to get off to the sea here and to get into London. Let's try and get through Felixstowe into Denmark, although we're going to need a 3 or a 2-3 train. We're going to need one of these Phase B trains to get there. But we can build into Felixstowe for now. And any old bog standard tile is going to do that. Well, actually, the reflex one wouldn't, but that will do. And of course, it can lay another one as well. So we could lay up here into Woodbridge, and we could lay into Stowmarket, or we couldn't, having gone into Felixstowe, we could not go into Colchester. It's actually worth a thought. Do we want to go to Colchester this round? No, because I think our long route to London is going to go through Stowmarket, Sudbury, Dunmow into London for fewer city stops. So let's run to Stowmarket, and we want to run that gentle round that way towards Sudbury. There is a question. Do we want to run a long local route up Woodbridge, Framlingham, Stowmarket, Sudbury, so that if we get a local coming the other way, maybe, or a local out of Felixstowe, it can run this nice long route here, picking up all these stations. So I think I might do that. What do we want? We want this. So then we can run gentle round there into Sudbury, because it still only counts as one stop for the express. But for the moment, the ESR is going to concentrate coming down here into the Denmark, bringing in the bacon, I expect. Okay, so the ESR has built its 2-track lays, and it's got a 2 train, so it can run to 2 stations. So 4 and 2, 60 per share. Not half as good as the freight, but if he had another 2 train, we could token Felixstowe. And then it could run off to Denmark, which would be 40, 60, it would be 13 per share. But I didn't buy a second train, so. Now, there's a question, just looking back at the ENR, did we want to buy a Phase B train? Because when the Phase C trains come out, if you can just see this here, the A trains rust. Now that means all the A trains on the board, if they don't have a warranty, and I'll explain warranties in a minute because I missed that bit, all the A trains owned by companies are immediately removed from the game. So would the ENR want to buy a Phase B train? Now I think, given they've got £300 here, they might wait for a Phase C train. Let's just hope this works out. We're going to rust 2 B trains because of the Yorkshiremen, 3 if we don't buy one, which leaves 3 in the bank. I don't think that ENR are going to buy. They're happily running £15 per share with their 2-1 trains, their 2 Phase A trains. So I think they're going to save their money and buy the first C train or buy a C train. Do the ESR want to buy one of these B trains? I think they do, because then as soon as they've got through to Sudbury, which admittedly is going to be in another operating round's time, unless they go up to Thetford instead, they can run a 1, 2, 3 and a 2. I think they are going to buy a B train for 200. We're just going to leave them short for the C train, which means they're going to have to withhold their earnings at one point, but that's fine. It also means the Yorkshiremen only take 2 trains at the end of this operating round. So you buy trains at the very end of the company's go. So you can't buy a train and run it in that one go. And that's pretty much standard for all 18XX games. So the ESR paid out £6 per share, which isn't enough to bump the share price. Now there is a rule in 1862. There is a rule in 1862 called the George Hudson Manoeuvre, which allows you, this is something that apparently he used to do, the company can pay the extra money to get a share jump, to get a share price jump. So they can take money out of their treasury and add it to the income paid out to the shareholders in order for the share price to go up. So they paid out 60, but they would need to pay out 70 to get that share price jump, which means they need to pay another 10. So they can do that. So they're going to spend £10 out of their treasury. There's 90 back. Just to get that share price jump. Now share prices are pretty much the be all and end all in 18XX. At the end of the game, my performance is judged on my treasury, which is my shareholding plus my cash. Anything in the companies at the end of the game is irrelevant. There's no way of getting that money or assets out of the companies. So my shareholding, I want my shares to be as valuable as possible. So if I can just bump that share price once at the start of the game there, it's a nice little maneuver based on a historical figure and what he used to do. I'm going to do that. So the cost of £10 of the company, I get that little share price jump. Especially with the ESR, where I actually hold 4 shares. So anyway, they paid out 6 times 4 is 24. Now actually, because of the George Hudson maneuver, the revenue is £7 per share. So that's 7 times 4 is 28 to me. Okay, so because of the George Hudson maneuver, the revenue is £7 per share. So £70, £7 per share. I've got 4, so 7 times 4 is 28. So 25, 28 for me, and I'll put it there just to remind myself that the ESR has paid me. Finally, we've got the Lynn and Ely, the local, and we've got 2 track lays to deal with first. So I think we're probably going to lay through here in Watton and up here into King's Lynn. So the Y, we want to go straight off to the sea, just in case, although the locals can't run into the sea. And that's straight up there through Wootton to Norwich. Okay, so the L&E has its local 2 train. Right, quick word on warranties. These initial A trains come with a warranty. And so do the D trains, and I shall forget those too, so I'll say it now. Every time a train runs, if it has a warranty tile on it, the warranty tile is removed. And what's the point of them? They prevent the train from rusting. And they can have as many as up to 3 on them. And they normally cost £50 each when you buy the train. You must buy them when you buy the train, and you must remove one if the train runs. Now, all these initial A trains have had a warranty on them, and it will get removed when they first run. So this is the only A train left, phase A train left, that has a warranty. So I'll put it on there just to show you how to remove a warranty. So this train runs. It's a local 2 train, which means it can run between 2 of the big white stops. Obviously, it's going to run to Norwich because that's the most valuable. It could run to King's Lynn, which would be 30. The locals count the town stops as well. So they're quite profitable early on. So 20, 40, 60, 80. But first, the locals get £10 for each hex they run through into their own treasury, which is quite unusual. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40 for the company. Normally, companies only make money like this if they withhold earnings, which means their share price goes down, or they sell trains, or if they have redeemed a share and they own one of their own shares. But in this case, they get money from hexes they run through. They generate their own revenue. So the actual revenue for the run, as I said, was 2, 4, 6, 10. So the L&E goes out there onto the £100 marker. I get £10 per share, and I have 3, so that's 30 to me. and that warranty is removed because the phase A train has run. And the company made $10 per share, so that's a single share jump. Does the L&E want to buy a B train? I believe it does. I think, let's just check. Okay, so if I buy this one, if the L&E buy this one, the Yorkshiremen are going to take 2 more, which will leave 2 more B trains, which means next round, the next operating round, I can leave the Yorkshiremen to take those 2 trains, and then the E&R can buy the C train, the first C train, which will rust its A trains, but first it will have run those. So hopefully by then the L&E might have enough money to buy another train, or will start to have filled its own coffers. ESR, I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. It may have to withhold earnings. So yeah, L&E is going to buy this 2-3 local for £200. Which means next time it can run 1, 2, 1, 2 and 1, 2, 3. So it can run all the way through to Cromer. Now, of course, that's the first B train sold. So, oh no, it's not the first B train sold. Now we can play green tiles, which means we can start to upgrade these, particularly the city stops. So this Y in King's Lynn, for example, we can upgrade to this little stop, which means it's worth £50 if a train stops there. So the green tiles are worth more. However, we're still sort of building the initial infrastructure in most of these cases. So we may start upgrading. This is a nice little run through here. We can try and get this freight off the board, maybe into the Midlands. As I said, the ESR we want to run down here to London through Sudbury. Okay, so that's the end of that operating round. The Yorkshiremen take 2 phase B trains. I definitely prefer 3, 2, 1 in that order for the train rush. I think it gives us a slower start at the start of the game. Alright, so let's put that on there to remind us. And we're back into another stock round. So how much money did all these companies make us during that single operating round? Well, I've got 80, 103 pounds, which is not going to be enough to launch, to start a new company, unless I sell some of my existing shares here. So let's put this up here. Actually, let's change this up. So that was 100. 103 pounds. Now, if I sell a share, I sell it at this price, which in the case of the ENR is already inflated over what I initially paid for it. So if I sell ENR shares, I'm making £6 per share. Woohoo! And if I sell anything else, I'm at least breaking even. Now, the next company up is another freight. Now, our initial freight, the ENR, was doing quite well. And I spy 3 NNS shares here. NNS runs out at lowest stop, which could tally in quite nicely into this existing rail infrastructure that we've already built. If we upgrade that N tile using using this, when you upgrade, you have to preserve the existing track positions on the. So you can see that X there. We've got that X there, and we get an extra little track running off down there. So we could build out of Lowestoft, upgrade Norwich, and then our freight train running out of Lowestoft can join this infrastructure. A bit of a stretch to get through there this early in the game, but you know, later on that's quite nicely already built. However, that's a little way off. N and S. Do we want to launch N and S? The other alternative is L and H. Now we've already built a tile on there, but they're coming out of here, which is another coastal. And again has existing infrastructure and can possibly run off the board quite quickly. That was nice. If we upgrade King's Lynn with a kicker up there into Holbeach, into Links, let's say, and then off the board there. Nice short route for freight, for an early freight. Anyway, so we could have L and H as our freight, or N and S as our freight, and the vice versa for our next local. Or we also have the N and E available. The N and E is down here in Bishop Stortford. That would make really nice a really nice express actually, because it's got this ready-made almost London route. Not so good for a freight and not so useful for a local. Definitely want to save that for our express, I think. Having said, right. So I think I might earmark the L and H for our freight maybe, and the L and H for our freight, N and S for our local. Now if I want to launch another freight company, out of King's Lynn, I'd like to kind of par it quite high, because the trains it's got to buy are already more expensive. So I can't go parring it at 54 because it's only going to get 380 into the company. No, 360 into the company, which is just enough for the trains as they stand. It's going to be enough for a C, only just enough for a D. But we're only going to get 3 more companies max. Maybe I should wait another stock round. Maybe I should wait to the next stock round rather than flogging all my shares and struggling to get another company, because at this stage in the game, if I don't do anything now, we're going to go back out into the next operating round, which is going to be green. So we're going to get 2 operating rounds in a row. The Yorkshiremen are likely going to take those at the end of the operating round 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 C trains, and we will have to shuffle up the 1, 2 and 3 and pick again. Now if we're lucky we might get a 1 or 2, and we won't get into the D trains until our next operating round, if we're lucky. I think we can do that. So this operating round
if I could pick up any shares in companies I've already got, I would happily pick up a singleton share if I can get hold of any. But it's not looking likely without nuking some of these companies we've already got. Now, bear in mind we want to come out of Lowestoft up into here, and we're coming out of King's Lynn into here. Do we want N&B in Thetford? Doesn't look essential. Now, if we trashed Norfolk and Brandon, that Yarmouth share would go, and we're stuck with this WNR. Now, where does the WNR run out of? Up here in Wells. That's not an enticing looking prospect. Now, we've got stations either side of it. We don't need a station there. So we could also trash the WNR, get hold of that ENR share. Now, because we've got an empty column, we've got two empty columns actually. We could just deal out a new column, but when you do that, you have to trash a company at random. And if we did that and trashed N&S or L&H, one of the companies we've got plans for, it's going to set us back a little bit. So ENR is 68. When you buy more shares from the tableau, you pay the par price, which is this price here. So I'm tempted. This may be a bit rash, but we'll never get anywhere without. So we're going to trash the N&B. So we are never going to build out of Thetford. And the Y&N share, the company's already out of the game. And I'm going to trash WNR as well. Which gets us this ENR share exposed at last. So I'm going to buy that ENR share at £68. Because whatever happens at £68, 32 back to me. Whatever happens at 68, it's already, I could sell it next. I could sell one for 74. So I'm already making a profit on that. Those Y&N shares are also removed from the game, so we now have three columns we can deal out. Once we've bought our N&S and our L&H, and we're feeling a bit more happy about randomly trashing a company, we can do that. Where's EUR? It's down here in Colchester. I don't want to cover Colchester just yet. Although we are building round here, Bramlington Stowmarket into Sudbury. It doesn't actually get us anything if we do. It's just another empty column. N&S, when we buy the N&S, we're going to, we'll be looking at the SVR. Hopefully if we've already built round into Sudbury, we can, we could trash that share. Especially if we've stationed Sudbury. If you've, as an example, so King's Lynn here, if we'd stationed King's Lynn like that, and then removed the L&H from the game, we don't do anything with this tile. It just carries on as normal. If we haven't stationed it, and we got rid of the L&H from the game, this tile would become locked. We'd put the L&H L&H's home marker there, not to block off the station, but just to stop it getting upgraded. And then if there's nothing on that station, then we blank them off like these. So we've got our extra share. We haven't got money to do anything else, and nothing else is open here. So let's go into operate round 3, I guess. And first company to act is the ENR, our freight train up here in Chroma. Now it can build track or it can upgrade. Now it can build track. It can build track on any hex that it can run a route to, theoretically with a train that can run any distance, say. So it could start to build out here through Walsham, Acle into Dis or Lowestoft. So we could build this track, and then the L&E can actually run down it as long as it's not blocked out through here. Which is actually quite a nice idea. Although I'd also like to upgrade Norwich. By building out through here, it's going to be drastically helping L&E. If we upgrade Norwich, it's going to be helping itself. The other thing to consider is it could come down here through Dis and connect up Framlingham, which might help the ESR run up there, but we want the ESR to get down through London for sure. So does the ENR want to help itself, which is going to increase the share price, the earnings per share by £2, £20 on the run, as things stand at the moment with its trains? It's going to do a double jump anyway on the share price at 15. So let's have ENR. Let me explain what I mean there. As it is, ENR is going to run, if nothing else changes here, ENR is going to run for £15, £150, £15 per share, and that means it gets a double jump. If we upgrade Norwich, it's going to go up to £170, £17 per share, which is still only a double jump on the share price. So even if it upgrades Norwich, it doesn't increase its earnings per share. If instead it builds round here and then the L&E builds into Dis or into Lowestoft, even better. Because then when the NNS floats, it's got ready-made track. So the L&E builds round here in its go, it can then run, it's got a 2 and a 2-3 train, so it can run a 1-2 and then a 1-2-3 into Lowestoft and earn a load more than just upgrading Norwich. So that's what we'll do. So we want, this is, ENR is building through North Walsham, so it can build this track, even though it has no intention of running on it. And it's going to build that gentle curve down there into Lowestoft, or towards Lowestoft. It has no intention of running that track, but it can build it because it can connect to it. It then runs its freight trains exactly as it did before. We're not yet in, we're still in phase B, so it's still £80 for this off-board area. So that's 80, 120, and 30 for the hex in between, which puts it on 15, which is a double jump there. It's still going to pay out because it doesn't need the money in the company yet. It's got enough to buy the C train, the phase C train that it's got its eye on. And I've got 4 shares this time, so that's £60 to me. 4 times 15 being 60. Very nice. Next up is the ESR as the next most valuable company, if you like, in terms of share price. And the ESR has a 2 train and a 2-3, so it can run its 2-3 train 1-2-3, and then its 2 train, it's not quite going to reach Sudbury this turn, unfortunately, so that 2 train is going to be a little bit wasted, but I think long-term plan, I think it's important to stick to that plan. So it's going to build through to Framlingham and Stowmarket. It is tempting to build up to this or into Colchester and reap the benefits now, but I want to do this way. I want to run this down into London. Can I get to London next turn? So it's going to run its 2-3 train, which means it can run 1, 2, 3 stops and count the best 2. It can't run its 2 train because there's no destination for it to go to, and it can't run back down again because it's already used this rail. So it's running 70. It's going to ignore the 20 because that's the worst station. And then the 40, so 70, 40 is 110. 110, so it's paying out £11 per share, and it is going to... Is it going to pay out? It could. Yeah, it's going to pay out £11 per share, which is 44 for me. 20, 40. Oh, hang on. If I put 45 in there and take a 1 from my treasury. Okay. And that's paying out 11, so that's a single point share price jump for the ESR. The LNE. Nice little local now. It's got a lot of track to pick from. Its first thing it's going to do is build this track down into Lowestoft. Doesn't matter what sort of track we use going in there, we've got plenty of all of them, so we don't need to think about too hard. So that's one. There's nowhere else it can actually build. Unless it did an upgrade instead, but we'll stick with what we said. So now it can run its 2, 3 and its 2. So if it runs its 2 train from there to there, and it runs its 2, 3 train, stopping at 3 stations, 1, 2, 3, and we don't count this one, then we cover all the stations. So that's, let's count how much it gets to itself at the moment. So that's £10 per hex it traverses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's £80 into the company. So that company's already got 220 in it. And how much is it earning? 3, 5, 7, 9, 13, 15, 17, 19 per share. That's become our most profitable company. Now, is it going to pay out? I think it is. So 19 times 3 is 57 for us. So I'm going to take 60 and put back 3. No one was going to buy a train that term, were they? No, right. So the auctionmen take the last 2 Phase B trains, and we will be into Phase C at the end of this next operating round. First of all, we have to redraw these to see what order the auctionmen take trains. So first up is 1. So at the end of this operating round, they're going to take 1 or 2, then 2, and then 3. So exactly the opposite order. So let's have a look what that means for us. If the companies don't buy any trains, the auctionmen take 2, and then they'll take 3. So if we don't buy any C trains at all, then there's 2 more operating rounds until we get into the D trains. But we did say that ENR wanted to buy a train, and I think maybe a couple of others will, because as soon as the ENR does, the ESR and the LNE are both going to lose their trains, their first trains. The L&E did not. We did not put their price up. So they earned 19 per share, which is a treble jump. 1, 2, 3, and they go underneath the ESR. So they'll still act last because they were last into that square. Right. This is looking okay so far. First up to act is the ENR, our freight train out of here. At the end of their turn, they're going to buy that first C train. But for now, everything remains as is. This time they are going to upgrade Norwich. It's important to remember which orientation that tile came out, because you have to maintain that orientation in the new hex. Obviously, just because you upgrade the station, you do not dig up all the old rail. So now the ENR has increased its route by 20. We can count it if you, oh no, it still is 20, because we're not actually in phase C till the first phase C train is bought. Otherwise this C route would be worth 90. It's not, it's 140, 170. So it increases its run by 2. It doesn't need to withhold any money because it's got enough for this C train. So we're going to pay out 17 per share, and let's actually tidy this up. Right, 5 of those equals 100. So look at that, we've already got enough to float a company next round, and hopefully we'll have even more. So 17 per share. We've got 4 shares. 17 times 4 is 68. I know you're impressed with my feats of mental maths, but I'm going to have to break the calculator out soon. 68 on the ENR. Okay. And it earned £17 per share. Shame it couldn't just squeeze one more out. But it goes 1, jumps up 1. So that share that I bought for 68 is already worth 100, so I'm making £32 per share if I sell those. Next up is the ESR. ESR is going to run its Sudbury and Great Dunmow. Now I need to check the timing. I believe you have to token London before you lay track. So I can't lay that track and then token London. Build rail link to London, that's right, before you lay track. So unfortunately, the ESR can't run into London on this round. But it can certainly now run round to Sudbury. So it's going to run its 3 train from Denmark in through the port. 1, 2 stops, 1, 2, 3, and ignore this one. And then it's going to count that one on the 2 train run through to there. So that's 20, 40, 60. Stop. ENR was going to buy a C train, wasn't it? So 300, 20 change for the ENR, and it's going to buy its freight train. It's phase C freight train, and that means all the phase A trains are removed from the game, which means the ESR's run is going to be less profitable than we initially thought. But it does mean that the Denmark route is now worth 100. So it's running, it's going to run its 2-3 train, 1, 2, 3, ignore the Felixstowe connection, and get 140 for the ESR. So that's 14 per share. Now, the question is, does it want to withhold that 140 and buy a C train, which is going to rust in phase F? Or does it want to pay out? Now, if it doesn't, if it pays out, the Yorkshire men are going to take 1, and then we're going to go into a stock round. So it's going to have the opportunity to withhold and buy a C train next time, and it means this stock round I'm going to have extra money myself if I pay out. So yes, the ESR is going to pay out its £14 per share to me. 14, I've got 4 shares, 14 times 4 is 56. 40 plus 16, yeah, 56. And it gets a single jump for that, up to 82. It cannot afford to buy another train at the moment. The L&E has only a 2-3 train. It's going to upgrade its home station, I think. Now, at the moment, we've got that sort of shape here. The possibilities for upgrading are what they call a crow's foot, a K, or an X. Now, where do we want to connect to? The crow's foot is pretty... Actually, the crow's foot is probably the best, actually, because it opens up all those connections. So let's go for the crow's foot. Oh, fireworks in the background for the grand opening of the upgraded station at Downham Market. There we go. Right, so put those back quickly. So we've upgraded their home station. And now they're going to run their 3-2 or 2-3 from whatever it was, Downham, Norwich and Lowestoft. And ignore Lowestoft because it's the lowest value. So it's running through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stops. So it gets 70 into the company, which incidentally is enough to buy another C train. We get, or rather the company's earns 3, 5, 7, 13, 15, 17, don't count that one, 17 per share for the L&E. So a slight drop there. So 17 per share, which it is going to pay out. And I've got 3 of those, so that's 51. Now the L&E has got 290, which is just enough to buy this C train, which is a 3 local, and it gets £10 back. And it 170, sorry, lots of erming there, is a double jump for the L&E. So they're all nicely lined up now. Lovely. So at the end of that operating round, the Yorkshire men take 1 train because we bought some. So let's just double check. The C's came out, we rusted all the A's, so that's good. In phase C, the companies are allowed 3 of each type of train, so that's okay. Right. And just to check, there are 2 C trains left. So we will be going into phase D at the end of the next operating round. So now let's see how much money we've got. So that's 5. Let's just chip up some of this. So that's 10, 20. Right, so that's a 20. That's 100. 175 this round, adding to what we've already got. That's 200, 300, 371. So we can par one of our new companies at 100, the maximum for a chartered company. Still don't quite fancy going for an uncharted company at this point. I don't think we need to. Uncharted, not uncharted. Benefits well if there are lots of that company's shares in here. Now, we have to start thinking about the end game, even though it's quite a way off at this point. As soon as the phase D train is bought, it triggers the end of the game. After the first D train is bought, we finish that set of current operating rounds, then we have a full normal stock round. Then there are 3 more operating rounds, and then there is a limited stock round during which we may not start a new company. So we're going to have this stock round and we're going to have another stock round. So I'm going to par one company right now at 100. So I'm going to start another company. Now we said it's a freight, it has to be a freight. And we were going to we're going to take the L and H out of King's Lynn. The alternative is to take the Lowestoft. Now the train the L and H is going to be buying, it's going to be 100, so it's going to be going here under the ENR. It's going to be second to act. So the train it's going to be buying, it must buy a train, is going to be the C train for 280. It's going to have £1,000 in its treasury, of which you can spend 180 on stations, so it will have 820. It's going to have to buy the C train at 280, which is going to leave it 625, 40, which is enough to buy an E train when we get there. So considering it's going to be buying a 3 train, 1, 2, 3, it's not going to be able to run off board with this existing infrastructure. 1, 2, 3, it can run off board that way, which will get us 90, 180 with 2 intervening hexes. At 30, so 180, 210, 240, that's going to be running for, which means it's going to be double jump once and then single jumps for a while after it's managed to build an off-board connection. So enough talk. Action, £300. We're going to buy the L and H shares. So we're going to float the Lynn and Hun Stanton. We're going to par it at £100 per share. So L and H. Its home station is already there. L&H, it's going underneath the ENR there. we need 2 of those for its charter. L and H. I have no idea where I'm going to put shares. Oh, I suppose we've got a bit of room up there now. So it's going to be a chartered company because I'm scared to do unchartered. And it's going to get 820 into its treasury. It's actually 1,000 minus 180. So we get to use the green chips. 820. It has no trains, but it does have the freight permit. Now we might want to consider merging it with the Lynn and Ely, because freights and locals run really nicely together. Because a company's trains can't visit the same station twice, but the freight running out of here to here won't actually visit any of these stations, so the local can run through these stations and the freight can run through these stations or over these stations without stopping, and so we get money for the whole lot. But we don't need to merge them yet because they're actually quite successful on their own, or they should be. Anyway, let's see. I've still got, what have I got here? 60, I've got 71 pounds remaining in my bank. So I can afford, if we could uncover another one of these shares, I could afford to buy it. Now, do we want to run the risk now of dealing out another row, another column? We've got the L and H that we wanted. We may well trash the N and S by accident, but then we've still got the N and E for our local. N and E running out of, oh yeah, we wanted that for the Express if possible. It's not the end of the world if that becomes our local. There's plenty of other companies. What have we got? We've got 7 up there, 4 here. So nearly half the companies. There are 11. 7 up there, 4 here makes 11. So there are 9 companies left in the stack that we could trash. We have to remove these ones. Unless they merge or go bankrupt, they are obviously exempt from being ESR. Accidentally trashed. L and H. So we'd remove those for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 companies we could accidentally trash, and there's only one of them or 2 that we really care about. So, you know, knocking on 1 in 4 chance of trashing a company, and it's not that bad. I say let's go for it. Let's deal out another column of cards. So first of all, we have to remove a company from the game. Let's hope this is not too important. Oh, it could be EUR, could be Colchester, couldn't it? Oh well. It is FDR. Felixstowe Dock. I don't even, where's FDR? Oh, well, we've already got that there. So here's a good example. FDR, we have effectively locked that tile now. We put this marker on there like that. So we can still run through it and we can still run to it, but we may never upgrade that tile now because the FDR, Felixstowe Dock, is out of the game. But we'll move to Felixstowe Dock, share that was at the top of there. So let's, we can deal out a new column of cards. We can do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could do this 4 times if we wanted to. Now, when we do this now, any shares, any company that's already been removed from the game, we don't deal out. So L&E, that's one of ours that we quite like. NGC is still in. WSTL is still in, I believe. Yep, Whizbeck. L&H is still in, we own it. WVR is out. NGC still in. L&D is out. I&B is out. W&F is out. N&B is out. WVR is out. Out. L&H, oh look at that, nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. L&H is the one we can't afford. So all of those go into that pile there. That goes back on there. L&H is the share we can't afford because it's £100 and we've only got 71. But we could sell something else to buy another L&H share. Now, immediately with its 3 freight, what's the L&H going to be pulling in? 1, 2, and 3 builds to March, which is going to be 20. That's going to be 110, 140, 170 per share, 17 per share, which is going to get it a single jump. So it's going to be going up. I don't fancy selling anything that we've got, all of which is doing quite nicely. To buy an L&H share at 100. I'd rather buy any other share that we own, to be honest. ESR, I think, is going to withhold this next round so it can buy a better train, which means it is going to be going down to 74. So we could potentially sell the ESR share to buy that L&H. And that's going to expose another L&H share. L&H could redeem some of its own shares. Start pulling 11, but that means it's going to have to run 10 operating rounds to redeem, to get the money back. I.e., if in the first operating round it bought its own share into its company at £100, how many operating rounds is it going to have to run to redeem that? Because I can't get that share back out of the company. So the only point of doing that is to earn money for the company. And it's running at, 17, I said. So it's going to have to run 5 or 6 times. And it's going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to redeem those shares back into the company. We're not going to get to that L&E share. Which is the one I'd really like to buy because it's earning really nicely and it's cheap. Should I deal out another column? Yes, let's deal out another column. Right, these are shuffled. WNR is going. WNR should be out already. Oh well. We're not sitting there on any WNR shares, are we? No. So that should be out already. We already trashed WNR. We wasted one of the shares down here. Yeah, there it is. And I just forgot to remove the company from that pile. So let's do another one. EUR. The one we didn't really want. That's blocked off Colchester. Never mind. Never mind. ESR has its run into London. So we can trash those. and the IMB and the WNR, so another column, but we get to deal one out. So SVR is still in, and again 2, 3, 4. L&E, nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th share that came up is the L&E, and I want to buy that at 58. That's a bargain. So 60 in, 2 back out. Now we can tidy these up a bit. We can move. We don't really. Do we want these SVR shares? Where's SVR? SVR is here. Not a bad local, is it? To buy into the next stock round, and there's 4 out there straight away. Whoops. And maybe that might be our next local. That might be our second local. That SVR, Colchester and Stour Valley, out of here. That's not bad at all. Look, it's already a nice local run through there, isn't it? Can't run into London, but it's not amazing actually. N&S I think would be a better local, running on the opposite way back up towards the L&E. Anyway, that's next round. At the moment, we're concentrating on this round. I think that's the end of the stock round. I'm not going to sell anything to buy the L&H share. That might be a mistake. I don't know. So, first up to act, we're going up to phase C, so we're up to there. We've got 2 operating rounds. Phase C, 2 operating rounds, yep. Great. ENR, first to act. We've got 3 freight. First of all, it can upgrade or build some rail. So now that ENR's up here, it can help out by immediately building this connection down here for the L&H. Although if it upgrades the L&H's home station, home tile for it, then the L&H can build into Wisbech and run 1, 2, 3, 4. They can run that straight away. If we go down there, the L&H with its 3 train cannot get off board. So the ENR is going to upgrade the L&H's home tile. And it's going to give us the Y shape. No. Where is it? There it is. Covered it up with the wrong tile. It's gonna run that way. And that's all it can do, just 1 tile when you're upgrading. And then the ENR, it's got its 3 freight itself, and it's going to run, maybe it should build into this. Yeah, I'm going to take that back actually, because the L&H can't run immediately. So I'll have that back. So that was just a straight Y. The E and R is actually going to build down here into this. So that it can maximize its own, because it can only go 3 hexes. 1, 2, and it can't stop there or there. So we want to run it down into there. Although actually, no. We just want to run the 2 into there, don't we? Let's do the maths. Let's work it out. Down into there is 90, 110, 140, 170. If we just stop there, it's 160 plus 30 is 190. So yeah, we'll just do that. So we will, going back again, maybe we'll edit this out so it looks really smooth and I know what I'm doing. Maybe we won't. We will do that. Precisely because running down into this actually lowers the income for the E&R instead of just stopping at Norwich. So if it just runs its 3 and stops at Norwich, we get 90, 150, 180. 90 for the start, 60 for the end, 30 for the tile in the middle is 180. So that's an improvement of 10 on last time. And it doesn't need to withhold, I don't think. So it's paying out 18 per share, goes up 1 jump. I've got 4, so 18 times 4 is 72. This is always the time I get a bit shaky about whether I should spend a couple of rounds withholding. What's it on? 180. So that will be 360 in 2 rounds, and the D trains are 360. I think we can do it we can pay out this round. So that is the ENR, and it's made its share price, its jump, and it's there. Okay. Next up is the LNH, our new company. It does not operate because it has no trains, but it may build. And it wants to build this Wisbeck, and it wants to build a straight there. Now that's only 1 tile. So it could build another one through March there as well, I think. It can certainly get to both those. So. It can't run because it has no trains, so its share price drops. Goes underneath the LNE there on 90. It has to buy a train. The question is, does it just want 1? Yes, I think so. So it spends 280 on 1 C train, which means the Yorkshire men are going to finish the last C train and kick off the end game activities, which will still go on for an hour. Don't worry, we're not there yet. But they will eat the C train, eat the last D train, so we'll be getting into the to the end game then. So that was the L and H. The L and E, he's got a 3-2 and a 2-3, and he's running up here. Now I think L and E, it's this one. I was looking at that thinking, how did we run out to here before? It needs to upgrade somewhere. The only station it wants to run to that can upgrade is Lowestoft. So doesn't really matter what we put in Lowestoft. Let's put that chicken foot just so we can connect to all those sea routes nice and tidy. And then it's going to run. It's 2 train there and it's 2 3 train there. And so that is 5, 8. Or actually, let's count its own money first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 80 into the company. What are we on? L&E. Yep. So 80 into the company. So it has £90. And then for us, potentially 5, 8, 10, 12, 18. 20, 22, 25. 25 for the L&E. Which it's going to pay out. And I've got 4 of those, so that's 100. And 25 on here is just about a double jump, so that's up to there, 110. The LNH has already operated, it's on the white side, so the ESR is the last of our companies to operate. And it's running his express train out of here. Finally, he can token London. That's all he can do then. He can't build anywhere else. He's going to run 1, 2, 3. He's going to ignore whatever this one is, Sudbury. So he's getting 40 plus 150 is 190 for that run. Not bad. And it is going to pay out 19, which is a double jump. And I've got 4 of those. 19 times 4 is 76. I feel like I've done that sum already somewhere else. 76, 50, 76. So that's the end of the first operating round. So let's just chip up a bit. $10, $20. So 261, but we have another operating round. The Yorkshiremen take that last C train off up to Yorkshire, and they take the first D train. D trains come with a free warranty. I'm going to put a warranty tile on top of that so I don't forget. At the end of this operating round, the Yorkshiremen are going to take 3 trains. If I don't buy one, whatever happens, we're going to be going into E. And the E trains rust the Bs. So the East Suffolk, the ESR here, is going to have no train at the end of this operating round unless it buys one for itself. Put the 3 token on top to remind myself that I have not bought one yet, or one of the companies has not bought one yet. So we're not having a stock round, we're going straight into the next operating round. And first to act is the East Norfolk with its freight train. Now, as soon as the first D train is bought, we will be able to upgrade to the russet tiles, which are worth more again. Jump from 60 to 80 for the ends, and 50 to 60 for the Ys, and 30 to 40 for the standards. Okay, into the second operating round, and ENR is first to act again. I cannot upgrade to the russet tile, so Not much else for them to do. Maybe that build down into this now, or I don't think there's any point upgrading any of these tiles yet. Either its own or either of these two. I think if we build down into this, then we may be able to get this. No, not that one. I'm thinking, here we go, that once we get Ipswich upgraded, we could build that through there. It might produce an interesting looking route for someone. I don't know if they want to waste upgrades doing that though. We'll see how it goes. But seeing as none of these, upgrading any of these tiles makes any sense at the moment, I think we'll go with that, see how that goes. Having said that, ENR is not going to lose its train, but needs to start thinking about a permanent train, which is to say an E or better. And the E trains cost 500. So how's the ENR going to get £500? By retaining earnings. And how many times is it going to have to retain earnings? At least 3 times. And I've got a feeling its money, its train is going to go before 3. Right, so the C train is going to rust when the F train comes out. And the Yorkshiremen are going to eat 3 of those and potentially 1 more. And there are only 2 E's and then 2 F's left. So perhaps the ENR wants to think about merging with a rich local company like the L&H, which has got £540 in its coffers already. The L&H itself, of course, has only got a 3 train. Oh, the L&H is a freight, not a local. The L&E is not that rich. If the NR merges with the L&H, we're just going to have one big freight company with 2 3s. 1, 2, 3, which is not going to be able to run its 1. It's not going to be able to run like a 6 freight, so there's no point merging the 2 freight companies together. We cannot merge a freight with the express because the express they cannot connect at the moment. Which means we could merge the ENR and the local, which, as I said, is a nice merger. But doesn't really get a lot more money into the company. They've got 90 there, and they're going to get another 90. Should be 180. The trouble is, if it gets the D train, anyone who gets a D train is going to have to buy another train before the end of the game. I think the L and H may well merge with the L and E. Between them, they can get enough money to get 2 E trains at some point, hopefully. Although there aren't a whole lot of E trains. There are only 3. And one of them's going to get taken by the auctionman. So someone's going to need to go straight for an F, which is £600. Can the LNE and the LNH together as a merged company, can they make a further £600 there? Probably. The LNE made 250, so we'll withhold twice. It's got the money. Maybe only withhold once. Anyway, that's the next thing to consider. What are we going to do with the ENR? That's the question we're struggling with right now. What are we going to do with the ENR? Well, right now, all it can do is run its 3 train for exactly the same as it ran last time, which is 180. What's it going to do? If it withholds, it's still only going to have 200. Now, next up is a local. The N and S. I mean, the next company we're going to buy. So maybe it can merge with the N and S. So maybe it should withhold this turn. And then if we launch the N and S as the local instead of the SVR, although maybe we can get connected, we can do it with the SVR instead. We can merge the ENR with the new local. Maybe before the new local even runs, so that it's already got a train. So we don't get that share price slippage as well. So the ENR, I think, is going to run for 180 and withhold this round. Drop down to £100 per share and end up with £200 in its coffers. It can't buy the train. It doesn't need to buy a train. Next up is the LNE, which is our highly profitable local. Now, do we want to merge it with our reasonably wealthy freight that hasn't even run yet? We've got 7 shares of that in between. I've got 7 shares between those 2 companies, so we could end up with 4 shares. What's the share price going to be? It's going to be the lower plus half the upper, so 145. So it's going to be there, 142. The way you calculate the share price on a merger is the lowest share price plus half the upper, which is 90 plus 55, which is 145, and then that will put us there because there isn't 145. Next one up being 150. So we'd go from 7 shares at this, 90 and 110, to 4 shares because I've got the money to buy the option at 142. Which is not bad. They're close, they're complementary on track, they're complementary on company types. And I think it's a way for them to survive the train rush accelerating here. So let's do a merger. L and E and the L and H is going to merge. Now so together they're at 142. And we have to decide which of these companies is going to survive. And I don't. 1, 2, 3. Now we wanted the L and H to run their 3 freight train, 1, 2, 3. So we better have their home. Better have the home in King's Lynn there. So we better have the L and H as the surviving company. So when that happens, all the money goes into the surviving company's treasury. So let's cash that up a bit right now. So that's 630. That's 100 there. All the trains go into the surviving company. Are we allowed that many trains? We're not in phase D yet because no one's put a phase D train. So in phase C we're allowed 3 of each type, and even in phase D we're allowed 2 of each type. So yeah, I'm just going to put that up there in the shares section just for clarity. The permits both go into there. Right, let's make sure we get this right. Merge with another company. They can only merge if they're connected. They're right next to each other. So we've calculated the new stock market price, which is 142, and the L&H is the survivor, so we'll put that there. I'm just going to leave that 90 there just to mark where it was so I don't forget. Both companies had trains. Set the new parts price. The par token for the surviving company is the highest based on the IPO chart, which is lower than or equal. So it's already 100. Swap your shares. Right. So any affected shares at the top of the tableau are included in the swap process. These go into the bank pool, where I can't buy them. In the solo game, we cannot redeem shares from the bank pool. We cannot buy shares from the bank pool. Combine all affected share certificates that you own into a single pool. Return half of the pooled share certificates rounded down to the bank pool. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Half of them is 3.5 rounded down. I'm going to return 3 L&E shares to the bank pool. If your pool contains an odd number of shares, retain one of them and turn it face down. This is an option share. So that is our option share. If you have any remaining share certificates for the non-surviving company, which we don't, is our option. Option shares in the non-surviving company are swapped this way as well. So we swap this option L&E for an option L&H. We have no remaining shares in the non-surviving companies. If I have an option share, its value is half of the company's current stock market price rounded down, which I must either redeem it by paying the bank, or I can relinquish it. Well, luckily it's 142, half of which is 71. I've got 71, so I can well afford to keep that share, and I definitely want to. So 30 back to me, and that becomes a full share. Okay. The companies themselves don't hold any shares, so we don't do anything there. Transfer funds and possessions we have done. Remove from the board any non-surviving company station markers where the surviving company also has a station marker. No. Replace the non-surviving company station marker tokens on the board with those from the surviving company, first from the supply. So we are removing the L&E, and having done all this, I'll realise that I've made a mistake, and I should have done it the other way around. We'll replace that with the L and H. I need to go back to the, oh hang on, no, that might not be right. The surviving company, any remaining station marker tokens beyond the limit of 7 are removed from the board. Nope. The surviving company retains all train permits, which we've done. The non-surviving company's charter is returned to the bank pool with its share certificate. So the L&E, this director's share that we're putting with these as random ones to remove from the game, it goes back into that pile. Both companies are chartered, so that company remains chartered, and it now gets to operate. So we'll remove that. Now there were tokens, there were 2 tokens on the charter, 2 station tokens. The surviving company receives unused station markers from its supply equal to the non-surviving company's unused station markers. There were 2, subject to the maximum. So it now has 2 extra, as far as I can tell. That's to the rules, the extra rules that I've got for this game. So these are now in the bank pool. That company can be launched again, but we would obviously need 3 L&E shares in the tableau in the next stock round to do that. So the L&H, we now have a bunch of trains and a bunch of money. And what we want to end up with is a permanent local and a permanent express. Oh no, that's a freight. Phew, I thought I'd done and merged with the express then. Just had the train certificate up the wrong way. Okay, so now it's going to operate, and we'll see how it's going to do. So it's going to run its 3 freight train. Let's do that first. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to go 180. It's coming from the sea, so these are worth 30 each. 180 or 18, 21, 24. Remove that. So 24 for the first part, which is the freights. Now the freight train has not counted any of these stations, so the local trains can use those stations. The freight train has only used the endpoints here, and the local cannot use them, so it doesn't matter. It has a 2, 3 and a 3. So if it runs its 3, 1, 2, 3, and it runs its 2 there and there, still can't do an upgrade of track, can it? But it could build, it could upgrade that. I'm not sure this is a good idea, but we're doing it. And we have to put the the station on that branch there. Okay, so what did I say? It's going to run its 2 from there to there. It's 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's visiting this one twice, but only counting it once because it's got the 2, 3 train. It's visiting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hexes, so it gets 90 into the company. And it's making 2, 7, 10, 12, 14, 20, 22, 24, 27. So an additional 27 plus the 240 takes it up into 510. Now, if it retains 510, it's going to have £1,230, which is going to be enough for 2 F trains, or an E and an F. If it pays out this turn, it's going to lose its B train, which means it's going to run for 70 less. $440 plus it's kind of close, but I think I'm going to pay out this time. I'm going to pay out £51 per share, and I've got 4, so that's £204. And that earns it a triple jump, 1, 2, 3, which I think is why it's worth paying out this turn, because it's definitely not going to be train less, so it can do something. Right, next up is the ESR, which is also going to be struggling for a train in a minute. It has 190 in the bank. It's the Express, and it's running into London at last. It may have to settle for a D train right now if it can afford it. So 40, 1, 2, 3. First of all, it's going to upgrade its home station in Ipswich. Which immediately gives it an option of running it up here. 1, but it's going to run into London. That's the most sensible thing. So 1, 2, 3, and it counts. It counts 2 of those. So 60, 210 for the ESR. Now, if the ESR withholds 210, it can afford a D train, which will keep it going for a little bit longer, right up until near the end. So I think the ESR is going to withhold earnings. And we're going to put 210 into the company, and then buy a D train. So 200, 360, leaving 40 in the company. It's buying the 4 Express. And it gets a warranty. It can't afford, unfortunately, more warranties. Would be nice to protect that D train a bit. Anyway, so that's it now. The ENR has run already. First to run, wasn't it? Yep. So the LNH has healthy jumped that time. The ENR retained and went down share, that's right. So now the Yorkshiremen removing the 2D trains and the first E train. And the B trains become obsolete, unfortunately. So there we go. Everyone still has a train though, so it's not the end of the world. The E trains, of which there are 2 remaining, are 6 for the freight and 4 5s for the local and the express. But I don't think anyone, or maybe the LNH is going to look at buying those. Anyway, down at the stock round, let's just work out the order of the rusting for the rest of the game. This is our last proper stock round, so the Yorkshiremen are taking 2 of those, then 3, and I think that's probably going to be into the H's, which are infinite and doesn't matter anymore. So only the LNH paid out. So we've got 180, 194, 394 pounds to spend in this our last stock round. So we can par another company at 100. Who's it going to be? NNS or SVR? Now we've connected SVR up with all this rail up here, which is nice for a local, because imagine it gets this 4-5 local, which is going to have to actually, if we launch SVR down here. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then either that way or that way. Oh, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, say. So it's going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 110 into the company just for running. 2, 4, 6, 8, 14, 16, 22, 24, 26, 29 as it stands, without upgrades. I can start putting the russets out now. So I think we're going to go for the SVR as the local. And we're going to par at 100. So we're going to buy 3 SVR shares at 100 each. So the company again gets 820. We could do this as an unchartered company. It receives 5 times its par from the bank to its treasury. So We could go up to 200. So we could pay 120 per share. Can we go 122? 122 would be 366. So we can do that. And then it's going to get calculator time. See, it's too late. I can't do maths like this at this time. After all this, 366. No, 122. So we're powering it there. 366. We've got that. Just check what's next. 128 times 3. Can we do that? 3. Oh, we can do 128. So what's 128? If it gets 128, so it gets 640 in. And then it pays £40 each for its station markers. When it pays revenue, it receives 10% dividend for each share certificate visible in the tableau. And there's 2 SVR shares visible in the tableau. And we could deal out some more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hope to pull out the last 2 SVR shares into the tableau. Well, should we be daring and run this as a non-chartered company, paring at 128? This is where I'm going to make a mistake, because I haven't done this much. So 128 times 3 is 384. So we put 384, leaves us £10. And the company gets 640. Plus however many of these it's going to need. It's got 1 out. I don't think it's going to need a whole load of these. It's not going to need a whole load of station markers. In fact, I'm not sure it's going to need any more. It's never going to own more than 1 train. So I might just pay for the 1, which means £600 goes into the company. And now it's going to buy this train. Let's, just for safety, buy 2 more. Just for safety. It's got the money. It can't do anything else with it. Wow, it's exciting. I've not done this before. So it gets a local permit. And it's second to act after the LNH. Now, considering this is about, we're not going to be able to float the Express because this is the last full stock round we have. I think it's worth the risk of dealing out some more columns here in an attempt to get some more SVR shares in the tableau so that it earns more money. What's it need more money for? If it's going to need more money, why am I buying those stations? Right, I'm going to put one of those back. Put 40 back in the company there. And I'm going to deal out another column of shares. So the company we're removing from the game is the N and E. Now the N and E is this one down here in Bishop Stortford. I'm not that bothered about it, to be honest now. So we can dump those. They go into the bank pool. And we're going to deal out a new tableau. Actually, I've just noticed we could have bought an L&H, although L&H is not my favourite to buy. I'd still rather buy an ENR. But the L&H is earning £51 per share. Well, it was. Anyway, let's deal out this column. WVR is out of the game. UR is out. Felix Stowe. 3 in a row for Felix Stowe. I think this one's still in. That's up here. L&E is still in. Yes, it is still in. L&D is out. L&H is still in. 3, 4, 5. Come on, we want more SVRs. That's not good. Well, it's not bad. I kind of feel like maybe I pushed my luck a bit there and didn't really get anything out of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 2 more SVR shares in there. I'm going to leave that now. Having learned that lesson, we can push that for the final stock round. All right, L&H, first up to act. This is our, oh, hang on, the E's have gone. So the B's have rusted. Oh, okay then. So when the F's go, then the C's rust. So at the moment we're all legal here. L&H, first to act. No mergers to consider, I don't think. We want permanent trains in the L&H though. It's got the money, we just need to engineer this so we don't muck it up. How much is it going to run for? The freight train is a 3. It's going to run its freight 1, 2, 3 again. And we are well into the, we've had an E train go. Yep, there's an E train gone. So we are taking the bottom value here. So that's 240, 270, 300 for the freight portion. And then the local is running 3. Oh, we haven't done an upgrade. If we upgrade Norwich here, it's a nice central one that everyone uses. It doesn't matter the orientation there. So this local 3 is now running 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's a shame it can't run out of here, because then we could get that extra track in. But as it is, 1, 2, 3, and it's collecting 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for itself, 50 into the company. And 5, 8, 10, 12, 200. So 500 for the LNH. Which we decided it's retaining. So another 5 into the LNH. Now we are up there. Now this is the last full set of operating rounds. If it buys the E train, nothing rusts. Nothing else on the board rusts. It could buy the 2 E trains, which is a 6 freight and a 4-5 local. And a 6 freight can run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably just the 5. Now we don't care. So that's 180, 3, 6, 9, 12, 300, or 280, 270, 300. So due to pretty crap track building that's not really going to improve, the 6 train is only as good as the 3 train. So it can buy that E right now for 500. And it might get to run the 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. It might get to run them together. So let's spend 500 right now on a freight train. That leaves 770. Hopefully, maybe it can get an H. Maybe it can get an H train for its local. That warranty is gone. Where are the warranties? Right there in front of me. Okay. Okay, next up is the SVR, which are local without our new local without a train, so it's immediately just dropping down. It does get track builds though. I think it's probably going to upgrade Ipswich down here. Ipswich has its own tile. Its own russet, because it can't run off here. Is it going to place a station marker? No, we decided it doesn't really need to. It is going to buy a train because it has no choice, and it's going to buy this E train for 500, which is a 4-5. So the Yorkshiremen are now looking at the F trains. The ENR could be in a little trouble. It's a freight. Now it could merge with the SVR at this point. It needs £400. The other thing we can do is refinance. Now, if we refinance, it's going to get another £680, which is going to be enough to buy a train. But we can only refinance when it needs a train. In which case we've made a little bit of a mistake doing a couple of retentions, and we should pay out this run. Anyway, the ENR's running its 3 train. Again, it's just kind of just stuck in that top corner. So 180, 210. A slight improvement. Didn't do an upgrade. Who's coming next? ESR. ESR is going to run probably 1, 2, 3, 4. So it can't even. So maybe upgrade that one to squeeze an extra tenner. That's an extra tenner. Okay, let's upgrade this one in this to squeeze out an extra tenner for the ESR when it runs. It's pretty much unimportant which way round that goes. So the ENR does that, and it's going to run for 180, 210. As I said, 210 for the ENR. 21 per share. If it keeps it, it's going to have £410. It still can't afford a train. It's still going to have to refinance. Now it's possible that it could buy out the SVR at this point. It's not called a buyout. Oh, it's the SVR's. At the end of its turn, it can acquire another company, which means the combined share value is going to be 158, and I'm going to have 3 of those shares because I can't afford the option. Because no one else paid out. Right, so without spending hours thinking about this, I think that ENR is going to retain its £210 from that run. And then it's going to acquire the SVR. So that share price drops down to 90, which I'm going to put there. They are connected, ENR, SVR connected through Ipswich, so they can do that. We want the ENR to survive, I think, because we want that freight coming out of the sea there. So we'll have the ENR survive. The share price is going to be 58 plus 90, 148. So there. So SVR never even ran. So that goes back in there. The SVR goes back in that pile of trashable companies. This company now has 470 to its name. It has run, so it will not run this operating round. So the ENR is now a non-chartered company parring at there. Oh, we haven't sorted out my shares though. Right. New par price. Swap your shares. Any affected shares at the top of a tableau are included in the swap process. If the company is chartered, move any of its share certificates from the top tableau. So the chartered company was the ENR, and there are no shares there. If the company is non-chartered, move them to that company's treasury. Well, we've kind of trashed it, but that goes there. Combine all affected share certificates that you own into a single pool and return half of them rounded down. So that's 3 of them and 3 of them. And I return the 3 SVR shares to the pool. And the 4th ENR share becomes an option, which I cannot afford because I only have £10. So that also goes to the bank pool. So that becomes mine. The SVR share gets exchanged for an ENR option, which the company can buy for, I believe, 71. Yes. So this optional share is 71. If I find myself 71 short later in the game, I'm going to kick myself. Company also has to pay. If either company was non-chartered, the surviving company is non-chartered, it must now pay the bank for each of its share certificates that are visible in the tableau for half the company's current stock market price rounded down. So it's going to have to pay for the ENR share visible there, half, and half for this one to redeem it. So that's going to be 142. So that's 150. So 5 back into the company, 8 back into the company. So the resulting company has got 328 in its coffers. A share that it's redeemed, 345. Except when it runs, it's also going to get money for this share. And now it's the ESR. It has a D train, which is not going to rust. It probably is going to rust. Yeah, it's going to rust. Because the Yorkshiremen are going to take 2 trains. They're going to eat the G, which means the D trains are going to rust. And the C trains are going to rust when the F goes. So this ESR is going to get 680. And it's going to need to buy an £800 train, so it's going to need 120 in its coffers at the end of this operating round, or the end of the next one. So it better retain this time, I think. Let's see how much it's making first. The ESR is running down to London. What's it going to upgrade? Let's upgrade this one. Might as well. We want a crow's foot in there, I think, like that. Not that we're going to be doing a lot of new building. So it's running 280. It's going to lose its train at the end of this operating round. So it's going to retain and drop down. Okay, the end of the operating round, the Yorkshiremen taking 2 trains. 3, because no one bought one. Pretty sure no one bought one that round. So they take the 2 Fs and the G. No one bought an H yet, but everything, all the Ds, the Cs and the Ds, so all the non-permanent trains have now rusted. Only permanent trains are left on the board. So we go into the next operating round. The Yorkshiremen, they can take as many trains as they want, so we just ignore them from now on, because there's an infinite amount of H trains. And our newly merged L and H without a local, and a little bit short, 770 is a little bit short of enough for a permanent local. Anyway, it's going to run its 6 freight out of King's Lynn. And it's going to run, well, it can either run off board here. It can run off board there. So that's 240, 27, 30, 33. Or if it runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it can run for 180. On 80, 210, 240, 270. So its best bet is to run off down here for 280, 28, 31, 34, 37. and then retain that 370, dropping down in share price. Shame it's just a little bit short. So 370, 370, and then the company's going to buy that H train. For 800, leaving 340. Yep, it's 30 short. 340 in the company. And it's buying the 6 local. The ENR. Let's see what it can do with its local. Let's see if it wants to buy the freight as well. It probably does. Oh, the LNH didn't do a track build. Probably upgrade Kings itself. We might as well go with that one. Or the full more interesting. Run that way. Might be able to do something with that by the end of the game. It seems unlikely. So that was the LNH. The ENR has a track build. The ENR's up there with a 4-5 local train. So it's going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can upgrade this one. Sudbury. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just check that then. Obviously it's going to ignore its home station for purposes of the money, but we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 into the company. And then 8, 11, 19, 21, 23, 25, 28 that way. Or it's going to go 8, 10, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5. 80. 8, 10, 12, 15, 21, that would be 24. I've forgotten what I said, go this way. Let's do this. Losing the plot a bit. That way. Makes no odds. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 80 into the company. I'm assuming I don't count that one twice. It would be unusual. And 8, 11. 8, 11, 19, 21, 23, 25, 29. 29 for the ENR. If it retains 290, that's 680. And then again, it could afford that freight train for the last 3 set of operating rounds. It's got to be worth it. So let's put 290 into the company. So if I take 310 out, if I take 210 out, and it's 500 in. And drops down. ESR has no train, drops down, has to refinance, so it gets 680. But we trash a random company when we refinance. The NGC. Right, so I believe that share goes into the company as an option. I lose 2 of these to the bank pool, and the company gets £680. $700 in, 20 out. It can afford to redeem that option at, I believe, 37. So 63. And then it buys the H train, which is a 6 express, for 800. Right, that's the end of that operating round. Now everyone has a permanent train. This is the last proper operating round. Hopefully I'll get some money this time. L&H is first to operate. It's got a 6 local and a 6 freight. So let's do the freight first and assume it's just going to run off here into the Midlands for 240. First of all, it's going to upgrade this in Downham. It was like that. Okay, so it's going to run its 6 freight out here for 240, and then 30 for each individual, 240, 27, 30, 33. This is the L&H, so we'll mark 33. Its 6 local is going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 110 into the company, although that barely matters at this point. And 6, 10, 12, 14, 22, 25, 33, 35, 37, 39.43, taking that up to 760, which it is paying out 76 per share, and I've got 4. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple share jump, and I 76 times 4. Oh, nearly there. 280. No, it's too late. 296. But it's 76 times 4, so it's different. 304. It's more like it. Finally, these companies paying out 304. Next up is the ENR. Now, it is going to try and buy that by freight, isn't it? And then it too can run off to the Midlands. So it's going to retain again. So its local is unchanged, except it's going to upgrade. We're going to upgrade Chroma this time. Simple green X. So we've increased this run by 10. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the company. Let's just check the profits. 8, 11, 19, 21, 23, 25, 29. 25, 29, so it's only 29. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the company, I said. It's damn close to doing it without retaining, which again is annoying. 778, so it's £32 short of retaining, of doing it without retaining. Can they buy trains? They can, but not from other companies. So he's going to pay out this time. 29 is a double jump. And I got 29 times 3. 87. Yep. And ESR, who is going to pay out this time, is running his 6 Express out of Ipswich. He could have been running from here all along for an extra 20. Never mind, I missed it. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can't upgrade Felixstowe anyway. So 2, 10. 2, 10, 14 plus 200 plus 20, 34. And he's paying out, and I've got 2. So that's 68. So 3. 4. 4 and some change. Oh, another 20. Let's cash that, chip that up to a 50. So 469. Going into the last stock round. Now I cannot launch any new companies at this point. But I surely can buy up some of these shares. So I definitely want an L&H for 100. Because L&H is currently worth 232. That's going to the bank, and I get that L&H share. Now I have to be careful that ENR costs, I think, its share price. There's more L&H shares over here, so I can pile that WSTL over there and take that for another 100. This is good because the L&H is by far our most profitable company as well. So I can put that up there and buy another. L&D is still in the game, is it? Yes. WNR is well and truly out there. So I can stack that ECR up there. NGC and WNF have gone. It's about IMB, NS, I don't care, WNF, so I don't care about this column, don't care about this column, or this, or this, although there's an ENR there, but not much I can do about it. Where's N and S run out of? There, not fully upgraded yet. Right, let's deal another column, so we need to trash a company at random. Be a shame if we can't upgrade the last few, but SVR we had but has gone, didn't it? So SVR is fully upgraded. There's no point marking that, but we get to deal a new column. Most of these are going to be out now. ENR is not. 2. Actually, when the ENR paid out, it should have redeemed. It should have got a share for the redeemed and a share in the tableau, I think. So some more company going to the money going to the company in a minute. 3. 4. Oh, this is a bit useless. Okay, so that's our 6 shares into the tableau. Oh, well, let me just check this. When a chartered company, a non-chartered company runs, pay revenue as dividends. The company receives 10% dividend from the bank for each share certificate it owns. So it owns 1. So that's 29 into the company. Whoops. and a non-chartered company receives 10% for each share certificate visible in the tableau, and there was one, so that's another 29. Okay, so I'm just going to chip that up because it's messy. So that's 100. So that company can now, it could at the end of its turn have afforded that train. So I'm just going to retroactively, I'm going to buy that. It's only because I've never really run non-chartered companies before. I didn't realise I'd forgotten how that works. And if you don't like it, you can write for your money back or something. So back to tidying this up. There's no point tidying this up. Oh, we might get that share out of there actually. SVR has gone. So we can buy this one now at 158. It's only going to go up, especially now it has that freight train. WNF is out, NNE is out. I've got no money to buy more shares, but I could sell off that ESR. Because we're in this last stock round, selling shares does not drop the share price, but it will put that into receivership. And it's just about to start making 280, 320, 340 for me is best about to make. I suppose I ought to see if I can get another NNH shell out up here. So before I decide whether to sell the ESR into receivership. The L&E is out. Where's L&E? It's there, fully upgraded, so we're not going to do anything with that. ESR still in? Oh, so ESR is ours. NGC. NGC is out. One, two, three, four, five. One more. ECR or Magic. Right, let's tidy these up. Right, well now my option is to buy ESR shares in. If I sell one LNH share for 232, I can buy both those ESR shares. What did I say ESR is running for? 34. So it's going to jump 1 to a treble, a double, and a single, so it's going to be worth 134, so going up 60 per share. So I'll be selling a share for 232 to get 240. Except the LNH is going to be going up as well. The LNH is going to be worth, it's going to skyrocket. I can't sell an LNH share. What about an ENR share for 158? If I sell an ENR share, ENR's just got its freight train as well though. I think let's get out another column. Right. So the ECR shares are gone. ECR, oops, wrong pile. ECR's down here in Essex is now blocked. IMB's out, ECR's out. And then S goes there, WNF is out. Deal a new column. This should pretty much empty this stack, I think, at this point. Was it L&D out? Yep. And then S. And then B is out. Should probably counted these up before I started. NGC and WSTL. Oh, where's the other ESR shares are in the bank pool? Of course they are. Okay. So that's now all the shares out in the tableau. And I'm too tired to work out if I should sell an ENR share at 158 to buy two ESRs at 68. Yeah, I'm going to do it, whatever. So I'm going to sell an ENR share. For 158 and buy two ESR shares which are 136. 36, so that's 22 change. And we're off. That's it. Right. Last set of ORs. Now in these ORs, no track lay, token or mergers acquisitions, no buying trains from other companies. They may still buy trains for themselves if they magically get the money. Linen, Hunt, Stanton might do. I can't see anyone else getting enough money to buy a train. So let's see where they are at the start of this. Let's work out what they're running for. So LNH, and why the ESR is that way out. I think I missed something there. Too late now, I never work it out. Right, so LNH, first to run, has its 6 local and its 6 freight. Its 6 freight simply runs off here for 280, 31, 34, 37. 37, and its local runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, 22, 25, 33, 35, 37, 39, 43, 43, taking them up to 800. And also getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 into the company. So 800 It's not even a quadruple jump, but 1, 2, 3. And let's assume it's just going to do that 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's not quite going to have enough to buy another train. So that's the second one. Eight is a double, and the last 8 is a single, up to 495, and a last 110 into the company. 7, and 3 lots of 80 to me, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 times to make sure I don't lose a 0 here. 80 times 7 is 560, times 3 is 1680. 1680. So that's for all 3 operating rounds for the LNH. The ENR is next to run. Is running a 9 freight. And where can it get with a 9 freight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a shame it can't get out to London. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's work out this way quickly. So that's 240. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 240 plus 150. 240 plus 150 is 390. Otherwise, it's going to go 100, 140, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the better run out to the Midlands for 390, and its local train is a 4-5, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 into the company. Not that this matters. And 11, 14, 22, 24, 26, 28, 32. 11, yes, 11, 14, 22, 24, 26, 28, 32. So 32 plus 39 is 71. So this goes up as a quadruple, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a treble, 1, 2, 3, and then a double, 1, 2. And that's 71 times 3 times 3. So 71 times 9 for me is another 639. So 640 in, 1 out. And lastly, the ESR. Oh, there's some money, there's some extra hundreds go into this company, but some extra 90s, but that barely matters. In fact, it doesn't matter because I can't get that money out of the company. So finally, we have the ESR running its 6 express from here. 1, 2, 3, 4 into London. 280. 28, 34, 34. Just the same as it was before. Let's just check it can't do anything else with its 6 express. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It can't run it from Denmark to the Midlands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 though. That's 200. 28, 31, 39. So there's a bit more out of it. So 39, that's a quadruple, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a treble, 1, 2, 3, and then a double, 1, 2. And 39 times 4, so 39 times 12 is 468. Whoops. 32. Change back to the bank, and that is the end. Just remains to tot up my ready cash, so I rarely get to use those. So 2,000. $2,820 in cash, and what my shares are worth. So 4 ESR shares at 182. 182 times 4, that's 182 times 4 is 728 for the ESRs. The ENRs are worth 3 at 430, so 430 times 3. That's 2,000, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. LNH shares at 495. 495 times 7 is 3,465. Gives us 5,483 plus 2,820 is 8,303, which is not even an apprentice score. Oh, that's disappointing. I thought I'd done better than that. There we go. 8303. Slightly disappointing. I'd like to at least got apprentice. I thought with these 7 shares that was a surefire thing. Never mind. Still, it was a good game. I thought I controlled my trains well. I didn't. We didn't have any companies in receivership. We didn't have any companies go bankrupt. Most of the companies had a train. A bit of withholding, I guess. A bit too much withholding. Perhaps. Anyway, I don't really care. I had fun. I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you saw any egregious mistakes, let us know. With the timestamps useful, then I can look it up and see where I went wrong. If you got any tips on how to improve that play, let me know. Anywhere I went really wrong, or I think my timing on the trains is slightly off. Realizing when I can withhold, when I need to withhold, when I can pay out. Not quite there yet, but I'm getting there. Not my best score. I think I've got over 10,000 before. But still, it's good fun, and I think it'd be good fun for a Euro player who's never really gotten into 18xx. Hopefully this video has shown that you can do that, and this game is colourful, it's vibrant, It's fun. It's a puzzle. You get to build railways. There's shares and money. I don't know what puts people off about this game. And now you can solo it as well. You don't need to find 3 other like-minded people to join in. The only thing this solo mode is really missing is that those kind of shenanigans. But obviously, you, as they say, but you can't have that in a solo mode. You're not going to dump a company on yourself. But I still think it's a fine game. It's a fine 18xx and it's a fine solo. I can't wait to play this multiplayer as well. This is such a tight board with, you have 16, there's 20 companies in the game, but you have 16 in the multiplayer. And to have 16 companies running on a board like this would be hilarious. Anyway, that's not going to happen for a while. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, despite the slightly disappointing outcome. And please, as usual, remember to like and subscribe and leave comments. Follow me on Twitter at OneManMeeple. Follow me on Instagram at OneManAndHisMeeple. And thank you to the patrons. You know who you are. If you enjoy my content, then you can help me out by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Links in the description. Thanks for watching. It's been fun. Goodbye.